It is 12:01 in the morning on August 13th. A man walks out of a store in Texas holding a suppressor. No Form 4, no fingerprints, no registration, no weight. First time any American has done that since 1934. That was not you. If you walk into your shop tomorrow and try what he did, you are looking at a federal felony carrying up to 10 years and a lifetime ban on ever owning a firearm again. Every thumbnail this week says the NFA is dead. Every one of them is selling half a sentence because half is the part that gets clicked. Here is the whole thing. 4 categories got their tax zeroed. Only 2 of them can actually cross a dealer's counter, and the reason has nothing to do with the NFA. It is one line in a different law written in 1968, and nobody is reading it. Here is the idea that organizes everything else you are about to hear. This was not a repeal. It was a jailbreak with a guest list. Congress could not ban a suppressor when it wrote the National Firearms Act, so it taxed one instead, $200 back when that was most of a year's rent. 3 years later, the Supreme Court blessed the whole apparatus in a case called Sonzinski, and the logic was simple. This is a revenue measure. Congress may tax. And if Congress may tax, it may attach the machinery that makes the tax collectible. The registration, the applications, the approvals, the prints, the photograph, the weight. All of it hung off that tax. 92 years later, the tax is gone. The budget bill signed on the 4th of July last year zeroed the making and transfer tax on suppressors, short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns, and the strange little bucket called any other weapons. Effective the 1st of January. Machine guns and destructive devices kept theirs, and hold on to that because it comes back around. But Congress only deleted the tax. It left the registration standing. Congress built the whole thing on a tax, then deleted the tax, and nobody moved the building. On August 5th, a federal judge in the Northern District of Texas named James Wesley Hendrix said the building had to come down. The case is Silencer Shop Foundation against ATF, consolidated with a second suit called Jensen, and the holding is narrower and far stranger than the headlines let on. He did not rule that suppressors are protected by the Second Amendment. The plaintiffs actually dropped that claim before he got there. He ruled on enumerated powers. Congress wrote this statute under the taxing clause and only the taxing clause. With the tax at zero, those provisions collect nothing, and the government does not get to walk into court 80 years later and refound the law on the Commerce Clause because the original footing rotted out. He enjoined the transfer application, the making application, the registration mandate, the criminal provisions that turn an unregistered can into a felony. Then he did the thing almost nobody covering this will say plainly. He refused to make it nationwide. Last summer, the Supreme Court decided a case called Trump against CASA 6-3 and held that a district judge has no authority to enjoin a law as to the whole country. He may give the people standing in front of him complete relief. That is the ceiling. So Hendrix wrote the order to reach exactly the parties who sued, the named plaintiffs, the members of 6 organizations, the customers of a handful of companies and transactions with those companies, and the law enforcement agencies of 15 states that signed on. That is the guest list. Your name is on it or it is not, and where you live has almost nothing to do with which. The stay ran 7 days and expired at the end of the 12th. Nobody at the Justice Department asked the Fifth Circuit to pause it. So at 1 minute past midnight, that man walked out of that store. Subscribe now if you want the 4 versus 4 that this entire genre has missed, because it lands at number 1, and it will change what you buy this week. Number 10 is the cheapest thing on this list and the one you will shoot the most. The rimfire can. There is a titanium one on the market this month at $499, and the real growth is happening in the tier below it, right around $300. The president of one suppressor company expects the whole market to double this year off exactly that price point. The bad advice you will get at the counter is to start with your deer rifle, because that is the sexy purchase. Think about how you actually shoot. That deer rifle goes off maybe 40 times a year. The plinker in your closet eats a brick of ammo in an afternoon. Your hearing does not come back, and it is not the elk rifle that took it. Number 9 is the dedicated pistol can. Not the do-everything tube, a short, purpose-built 9mm, somewhere between $630 and $700 depending on the model. Everyone tells you modularity wins. On a handgun, it doesn't. A stubby dedicated can hangs off the muzzle without turning your pistol into a fishing rod. Number 8 is not a suppressor at all. It's the host. There are far more threaded barrels in American safes right now than there are cans to screw onto them, because manufacturers spent a decade normalizing threads while the tax kept demand down. Go check your own rifle tonight. Pull the thread protector. If there is nothing under it, that is your first purchase, and it is the cheapest one on this list. Number 7 is the purchase that made sense for 90 years and stopped making sense in January, and the men who own one are going to fight me on it. The modular, multi-caliber can, the $1,000 tube rated from a 5.7 all the way up to a Magnum, so you can thread everything you own to one device. That was gospel. And it was gospel for exactly one reason. Every additional can cost you $200 in tax before you bought the can. Buy one, thread everything, dodge the stamp. That was never an engineering argument. It was a tax argument wearing engineering clothes. The tax is gone. Modularity is a convenience now. It stopped being a strategy in January. The reason men end up with the wrong thing is they walk in not knowing what any of it costs or what it's actually good for, and the man behind the counter fills that silence this week with whatever the ruling made him bravest about. Every figure here comes off the docket, the statute, or the government's own numbers. And where the law is unsettled, I'll tell you it's unsettled. Subscribe if you want number 1, because nobody making these videos has found it. Now back to it. Number 6 follows straight out of number 7, the second can, and the third. The per-item math that made you agonize over one purchase does not exist anymore, and the country has already noticed roughly 845,000 suppressor applications went in between January and the end of May, not for the year, in 5 months. Number 5 is where half of you are about to start typing. The short-barreled rifle, the thing most of you actually want out of all this. And it is the one that did not get free. A dealer still cannot hand you one without an approved Form 4 in every state where they are legal, and that includes buyers who are squarely inside the injunction. Same tax cut, same court order, same judge, same day, same page. Different outcome. You are half right about that, and I will show you exactly which half at number 1. Number 4, I am going to spend very little time on and a great deal of caution. The order also reached the making application, the form a man files to build his own. I am not walking you through that, and I want to tell you why. Move a short-barreled rifle across a state line, and you are back inside a separate federal authorization requirement that has nothing to do with this ruling. Your state may criminalize the configuration outright, regardless of what any federal judge said. This is the thinnest ice on the entire pond, and men who are wrong about it lose everything they own. Number 3 is the used market, and this is the part nobody has thought through. There are about 6.3 million suppressors sitting in the Federal Registry. Every one of them is a registered item with a paper history. The cans moving at covered counters right now have no registry entry at all. 2 products, same tube. Nobody yet knows how the second one resells, transfers on a death, or crosses a state line 10 years from now. Price that uncertainty in before you pay a premium for a can that comes with no file. Number 2 is $25, and the people who already spent it are not going to enjoy the next 90 seconds. The membership. The order reaches the members of those organizations, and there is no join-by date written into the judgment. $25 is the cheapest thing on this list by a factor of 20, and it is the only item that changes your legal status instead of your gear. Hold that thought. It comes back with a knife in it. Number 1 is the category you have never once considered buying and understanding why it is. Number 1 is understanding this entire ruling. Any other weapons, the odd bucket. Historically, it carried a $5 transfer tax instead of $200, which is why almost nobody paid attention to it. Now that tax is 0 like the rest, and it is the second of the 4 categories moving across counters on a background check alone. So why that one and not the short-barreled rifle? Stop asking what the court struck down. Start asking what it never touched. The National Firearms Act lives in Title 26 of the U.S. Code, the tax code. That is what Hendrix took apart. The Gun Control Act of 1968 lives in Title 18, the Criminal Code. It was written under the Commerce Clause. It was never challenged in this case, and a tax going to zero does nothing to it whatsoever. And inside it there is one sentence saying a licensed dealer may not sell you 4 specific things without authorization from the Attorney General. Here are the 4: a destructive device, a machine gun, a short-barreled shotgun, a short-barreled rifle. Read that list again, and tell me what is missing. Silencers are not on that list. That's the whole video. Neither are any other weapons. 2 categories left off a list in 1968 by men who were not thinking about you and were certainly not thinking about a courtroom in Texas. Nobody engineered it. It is not a loophole. It is just what the sentence says. And for 58 years, it did not matter because the NFA sat on top of it and you needed the Form 4 either way. The NFA came off the top. The sentence underneath never moved. That is why a covered buyer takes a suppressor home on a 4.473 and a background check like it is a shotgun. And that same buyer, same counter, same afternoon cannot take the short-barreled rifle. There is no Attorney General authorization for that sale except an approved Form 4, and the only place to get one is the machinery he supposedly just escaped. 4 names on a 1968 list. 4 categories untaxed last year. They are not the same 4, and the 2 that fail to overlap are your entire buying decision. Subscribe if that reframed the last 3 weeks of headlines for you, because that sentence is not in any of them, which means both camps in your comment section are half right, and I mean that precisely. The man shouting that the NFA is dead is right about more than you'd think. The transfers happened. Real dealers ran real transactions with no form and no registry entry. The Justice Department watched a 7-day clock run down and did not lift a finger. That is not theater. Where he overreaches is the part he never thought to check. He assumes an order naming 6 organizations and a handful of companies somehow names him too. It does not. The man insisting nothing changed is right about the arithmetic. For the overwhelming majority of gun owners in this country, this week's process is last week's process exactly. And he is dead right about short-barreled rifles. Where he overreaches is calling a live federal injunction symbolic. Tell that to the 2 men standing in the parking lot at midnight. One of them is reading the wrong list. The other is reading the wrong clock. Now here is the part the men who already joined do not want to hear. The cheapest item on my own list is the riskiest thing on it. No court has ruled on whether a man who signs up after the judgment lands inside that class. Nobody has litigated it. Until somebody does, you are the test case, and you are the test case holding the evidence. A TF has published nothing, not a letter to licensees, not a line of guidance. The law firm that won this case has said out loud that guidance is not coming soon. The Justice Department has until October 5th to appeal. One congressman says he was told there will be no appeal, and the NRA, in writing this week, called that report unconfirmed. That part is argued, and anyone telling you otherwise is telling you a story. And nothing in that order says what happens to an unregistered can in your safe if the Fifth Circuit reverses next spring. District court injunctions do not come with a grandfather clause. The felony didn't get smaller. The doorway got narrower. A membership card is not a defense. It's a better position. I am not your lawyer, and none of this is legal advice. Read your own state statute before you touch any of it, and if you are serious, pay somebody who does this for a living to read it beside you. Now, the thing that is not on this list at all, because somebody is already typing it, is machine guns. Congress kept the tax on those. The tax still collects, the taxing power still holds, and the argument that won this case does not exist for a machine gun. Same for destructive devices. Same list, same sentence, same answer. Trusts. If your con sits in a trust and you're a covered member, is the trust covered? Nobody knows. That one is genuinely open, and the attorneys are arguing it right now. and full delisting, pulling suppressors out of the statute by act of Congress. Still not law. Roughly 50 members of Congress have asked Justice to apply this holding to the whole country by rulemaking. That is a letter. A letter is not a rule. So where does this leave you? Not in one place, because you are not one man. If you are in a free state and you have never once heard your own rifle, buy the rimfire can. Today, under $500, ask your counter exactly one question. Which process are you running on suppressors? And if he is covered, you are home with it this afternoon. If he is not, you file the electronic form, the stamp costs nothing, and the weight is measured in days. Not months. Days. If what you actually want is that short-barreled rifle, file Form 4 anyway. Nothing in this ruling helps you. Not one word of it. But the paperwork is the cheapest and fastest it has ever been in the life of the statute, and you are waiting out a fight you cannot join. And if you are in California, New York, Illinois, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Hawaii, Delaware, Rhode Island, or the district, none of this reached you. Not the tax cut, not the injunction, not the midnight transfer. This was a federal ruling about federal power. Your fight is in your state house, and it always was. Which means the winner and the smart buy are two different things, and I want to be plain about which is which. The winner is the suppressor bought at a covered counter with no registration behind it. It is the most significant thing to happen to this law since it was written. The smart buy is the same rimfire can filed the ordinary way by a man who knows he is not covered and files anyway. It costs him nothing but days, and no panel of judges in New Orleans can reach into his safe in April and take it back. You are not buying a suppressor. You are buying a place on a list. Buy the thing that is actually legal for the man you actually are, not the thing that is legal for somebody who is already in the room when the judge signed. Tell me what state you are in, what your counter told you this week, and whether it matched a single thing you just heard.